It is finally time to take advantage of the amazing revenues from these land plots. Hi, my name is Thomas.
With the growth opportunities in the horizon, we also wanted to analyze the possible alternatives, including the different financing methods that you could be approaching in order to finance your growth. Hi, my name is Jay.
With Empowering New Beginnings, we're able to help with the new Albany project. And how are we going to finance that? Well, DB County actually has a strategy here in place for your company in terms of how we are going to finance the expansion, in terms of the different alternatives we will discuss later in our presentation today. Moving on to the executive summary, of course, is analyzing that current offering from Mimosa Ventures, and this is to fund the Albany Bay bauxite mine production plan. The key challenges what we wanted to analyze was first looking at the offering in terms of that. Is this fair for your company in terms of return? And is this fair for the investor as a return for them? For example, we do recognize that Mimosa wants to realize 2% of the revenues from the new project, and how is this going to streamline back to them? Secondly, of course, is with our assumptions, and these are mainly with the cost assumption used in terms of our valuation. We know that current costs of floods do result in $10 million, and we wanted to include these cost assumptions within our valuation today. Our outcome, of course, and the recommendation is to proceed with the $100 million for investing, even though being presented with the increase to $125 million, we feel that $100 million will be enough to sustain our current functions and the new expansion project. And with the 2% revenues already described before, asked of Mimosa, we are confident in our outcome of retaining a $585 million NPV for the company itself. Moving on to the overview, we wanted to take a look at the current industry right now, operating within the mining, of course, in the bauxite, and seeing if any opportunities are faced there, and further analysis on the currency and as well as the different land mine associations. In the mining industry right now, we see an increased growth for aluminum. There's 8% to be expected in aluminum, and we know that the bauxite ore is a component to build on this product or this mineral. Second, we know there is scarcity. It's hard to find high-quality bauxite right now, and this is why we see an increased demand for high-quality bauxite as well as an increased price. This is an attractive opportunity right now to expand, and we wanted to ensure and are confident that expansion within the aluminum project will be significant. Taking a look at currency forwards versus the forecast. For the currency forwards right now, we know that this encapsulates the sentiment of what the market sees and what investors and other people looking to change their money into US price this into their current assumptions with the currency forwards. Right now, what we see are short-term prices up to 2 years. They are assuming a stronger Canadian dollar, so this is why it's going to be less in the short term to actually exchange your money for US. In the long term, of course, these prices to 20 years assume a weaker Canadian. So they see a more inflation between the earlier years right now, and then ending up to 20 years, this is going to be where things start to get back to normalization rates. So of course, what we wanted to use today are the currency forwards because they are more realistic than the analyst estimates of currently decreasing the value of Canadian dollars right now. One thing that we wanted to note is that working with mine projects, you are going to be in an area where there are reserves and communities nearby. One thing that we've noted is the First Nations resistance, and there are 3 key points we wanted to outline. The first is that they're only a few kilometers away from the site. Operating in Hudson's Bay, you will be touching upon these communities, and this may affect current expansion projects, as well as this current project right now, in terms of getting from phase 1 into phase 2. Secondly, of course, as mentioned before, this will affect the growth of mine, as this could alter our timeline in terms of the implementation and the returns for the investor, as well as that 25-year mark for the current project right now. And lastly, of course, this is a constraint. And why we want to take this into consideration is because we cannot ignore the First Nation communities that actually reside near our projects, because this may limit the growth back to your company as well as future investors.
So with that being said, we have to first go through a couple of revenue assumptions that are going to be used in order to discount and realize a value for your expansion of the project. First and foremost, we are going to utilize a currency exchange rate as mentioned before. And from 2023, we are going to assume a 1.35 exchange rate and constant thereafter. As well, we assume that the current production is reasonable and the production values are probable. Taking a look at the income statement above, we realize that the revenue increase will increase to 2 billion Canadian dollars in 2042. With the revenue, we also wanted to analyze the streams that will be going to Mimosa. And with that, the consideration is that 2% royalty will be paid to Mimosa as well. This is in Canadian. And the revenue cash flow payment schedule will be listed above. And also the initial investment of $100 million will realize a net present value of approximately 60 million for Mimosa, and this represents a 15% IRR for the company. And we feel that this is a fair deal for Mimosa, and in terms of their return on equity, they're realizing a intrinsic value way over what they originally paid. We will also go over how this matches up with the net present value of your own company. Some of the cost assumptions that we will also go over in order to analyze the net present value for your company for the Albany mine project is that the flooded water breach will have a 30% chance of occurring within the first 3 years and 12.5% within the 12.5% thereafter every year. And this represents a $10 million cost each instant. And with the cost of financing the mines, as you all know, the phase 1 will we will have to incur $250 million in 2017 and $150 million in 2019 and also $300 million in 2023. The added margins, as given by your guidance, is 12%, and we also included a tax rate that must be used in the analysis. So the return on the Albany mine in total, the revenues are taken after the deductions of the royalties and using the cost assumptions and also weighted average cost of capital of 10%. The net present value for this expansion and development of the mine is approximately $585 million Canadian dollars. So with that, I would like to draw your attention to the cash flow statement above, and we realize that the net present value is 585, and the EBIT is growing from 16 million to 108 million.
So considering the value that Mimosa can be created through our project, we wanted to also look at the different alternatives and whether or not this is the best course of action. There are 3 alternatives we have identified for your company today in terms of expansion of the project, and we have listed it up here. The first, of course, is considering the Mimosa royalty, and what we consider is their current terms of 2% for 100 million, 2% of royalties for $100 million, and the first 5 payments guaranteed. The second is looking at an IPO. So this is currently listing in the stock market exchange to raise funds for current projects as well as future expansion projects that may take place. And lastly is going down. We know that right now you're going to take 80%, but this is another option to go with 100% to cover the remaining costs that are associated with the process. First, we wanted to notice that the IPO is not the best strategy. And there are 3 main reasons why we wanted to address this. First, of course, your company is not currently an established company within the market. Being a junior mining company, it is hard to grab market sentiment around your company right now to find one project rather than a multitude of projects. And secondly, it is very timely and costly with the current regulations in place for IPO with increasing fees from investment bankers. Now, we are going to analyze the difference between Mimosa royalty and going into full debt. So taking a look at these are the first 5 years of costs associated with each alternative. The first one with the Mimosa royalty is at 2%. As listed here, in 2017, it will cost $2.67 million in Canadian dollars that will be returned to Mimosa, ending with 2021 with $16.5 million. In terms of debt, what we used was a 6% interest rate, and this was advertised as well throughout the periods. And we can see that these are enormous numbers compared to the royalty that would be paid back to Mimosa at 23.74 million annually realized throughout the 5 years. So our recommendation, of course, is going through with the Mimosa royalty because we are not only are we able to make those payments as well, we are also considering the net present value that is going to be realized within our company.
So, we kind of outlined the ideal plan to walk through in order to realize the most NPV and get the most out of our land plans. So what do we do next morning? We do what we do best. We dig. We start off with our phase 1, and then it breaks off into our phase 2 plans. Our phase 1 plan will take us through from 2017 to 2019. The total cost that is expected is going to be $400 million to fund the development, which is being received. The phase 1 is going to be broken down into 2 steps. First, in the first 2 years, we're going to be going to grow from 1 to 5 million tons per annum. And then in step 2, we're hoping to enlarge to 9 million tons per annum. So as we see, the first plan is to start up the mine, initiate the digging process, go to the claim, get all our paperwork done, and start digging. Once we have the initial mine running, that's when we transition into our high growth phase. We want to expand the mine as much as possible in order to realize as much revenue as possible because we are making these royalty payments. And it's important to run as effectively as possible. Leading into step 2, when we reach the 9 million mark, that's when we're going to go over into, an additional to our phase 1, we can break it down into the timeline. So in the first year, we're hoping to achieve 1 million tons per annum, establishing the operational pit mine. Afterwards, in the next 2 years, we're growing to 5 million tons per annum after the first year, and then in the meantime, we're also emphasizing our communications with First Nation communities. As we all know, our land plots are very near First Nations communities, so it's going to be vital in order to have an open dialogue with this community in order to ensure that there are no interruptions with our mining process. So the KPI for the digging of the mine will take us will be established at a growth rate of 3 million tons per annum. And so if we're hitting this goal, that means we're reaching our phase 1 objectives. Going into phase 2, we're expecting a cost of $300 million. So as you may realize, although we're achieving more growth, we are achieving a lower cost because we are taking advantage of economies of scale. So the $300 million cost is a lower cost than the $400 million cost that we earned in first phase. During this phase, we're expecting to grow to 17 million tons per annum by 2023. And our growth measure is going to be the 2 million tons per annum. If we're achieving this metric, that means we're going to reach our goal within the time frame that we have allotted. So if we take a look at the risks and mitigations in developing our mine, a key thing will be the mine floods that may be realized throughout the years. So as you know, there's a 30% chance that within the first 3 years, we can expect a mine flood. And if this happens, that means the mine shut down for 3 to 5 months. That is something that we want to make sure that we're prepared for because it's going to have a significant impact on our revenues and on our company's ability to succeed. So it's going to be very important to create an action plan to ensure preparedness for this event. In order to do this, we're going to need to get representatives from our firm in order to plan out how long it's going to take to empty the seawater out of the mine and also ensure that we're not hindering the other First Nations communities. The current probabilities are something definitely to focus on. 30% is a high number, but that number will decrease. It is not a reason not to go into our land plots and start taking advantage of the mineral resources that we can. We have these plots, they're not going anywhere, and that's why we need to ensure that we have the best financing possible, and then we can realize this value by being as safe as possible with our resolution toward minor floods. Secondly, the First Nations resistance. So as I said, it's going to be extremely important to keep an open dialogue with our First Nations communities. So long in the past, in Canada's history, where we will be mining in Northern Canada, First Nations have been taken advantage of. And it's something that we want to make sure that we're preventing, that we're conscious of, because this is what our firm stands for. Our firm stands for caring about individuals and taking care of their communities while we're taking care of our business. We are a social and economic mind. So we need to ensure this dialogue between the communities. So what do? We enter these communities and they know we're there. We bought up land plots around the communities. However, it's important to understand their perspectives on the company. And so it's going to be crucial to see what their fears are with us opening the mine. Our effects of the mine being flooded, as well as the mine potentially hindering the soil around our mining area, could damage their communities. And this is something that we want to make sure that they know we're mitigating, and so that they won't be abrasive to our entry into their land. So by looking into, it's going to be important to look into community initiatives. To create an open dialogue, it is crucial to reach the First Nations communities and see how can we help you. How is our existence within your community going to be better? So if that's taking part in helping fund certain processes for the First Nations, or helping initialize social activities. This will be crucial in ensuring our success within the community and being a successful mine.
And to conclude today, the current opportunity presented us by Mimosa Holdings of the 2% royalty revenue in exchange for $100 million to fund the Albany project stands that it is the best financing strategy to go with the project. Based on the key challenges of the offer in terms of hand, analyzing the different scenarios, and analyzing that this can be a return to them, this is the best possible project, or this is the best possible strategy. Including our assumptions, of course, into the valuations will ensure that the Albany Mine project will not only receive a value to investors, but as well a value to your company. If there's any questions regarding our valuation or any assumptions that we have not made clear, we would like to open the floor to any questions.
Bauxite trades on the world market. The price of that were to decline considerably below what you had in your projections. How would that influence your decision making in these cases?
So, just to go on that topic of interest, I think you repeat the question.
The question is, bauxite, if the price of that were to be significantly lower than what you had, if the price were to crash, how would that impact your decision making?
Currently, we're not expecting a crash in the bauxite price, simply because aluminum is a material that's being continuously used in the market. We see with our projections that there is going to substantially growth in the use of bauxite, so we're actually expecting more demand, and it's not being currently met by the market. And so what better way than establishing a line and taking advantage of this higher demand, as well as the higher cost, because there's a shortage of supply.
Have you conducted some sort of sensitivity analysis such that it would potentially lead you to understand a little bit more the levers of why you would recommend the original offer as it stands, or perhaps some modifications to that original offer, such that it would be a better win-win situation for yourself as well as potentially Mimosa?
As we've already analyzed with the current offer being made of $100 million for the company, their net present value is approximately $60 million, whereas the net present value of the whole company, in consideration of the capital expenditures being made as well as the debt that we're incurring, we realize a net present value of approximately $585 million. So we believe that this is a win-win situation for both of the parties.
So taking the offer as it stands,
was that it's going to offer the liquidity, the extra liquidity that you will need to move forward with the expansion, with the 100 million upfront, and being able to realize, and being able to pay back in the first 5 years of guaranteed payment with even a return on our current project. We feel that this is the best course of option and that it hedges the current going to 100% in depth instead.
If there was flooding in the first year, have you looked at that as a risk and
So what we actually did into our current valuation was put an expected value on the probability of $10 million, and in the first 2 years, we put the probability at 30%. So this would streamline down to a value of $3 for the possible cost of a flood in the first 3 years, and then after that, we use a 12.5% just to be in the baseline of the 10 to 15% chance of the years. So we already included this expected value cost to mitigate this risk, just in case it might really affect our valuation.
I'm really curious about the alternative option that you delivered in the IPO. And you mentioned that the costs are high, but what does that look like? What are the costs? How high are they?
So some of the costs going through IPO include really high accelerator fees, and also with the IPO, it's very timely. So with a very short time horizon of expanding into the development, and we believe that the timely nature of an IPO would be a appropriate option for your company.
Just to make sure I understand, so do you believe that what the market is pricing in terms of the currency forwards exchange rate is the best assumption about the future, or analyst forecasts are the ones that you should abide by?
So what we took into consideration that in terms of the currency forward, we do see the rates normalizing as the years after the strengthen, that they do normalize back to normal rates very close to this year. So we wanted to use this as an assumption moving forward rather than the analyst